I'm feeling so alive, hearing the angelic sounds of our ancestors singing through the night for the supernova body. Listen to the realms of beyond, sacred wisdom healing my mind. Chakras align when I listen to supernova day. It's more than a podcast, it's a whole vibe. Expanding consciousness as you shift your mind. Tune into the supernova body so you can raise your vibration. Don't be afraid to make changes and create a new you. It's more than a podcast, it's a whole vibe. Expanding consciousness as you shift your mind. Supernova body, a cosmic party. New way of life, it's a supernova body. Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of Supernova Body Podcast. I'm your host, Simone Michelle, and today we're talking about codependency in parent-child relationships. Yay! This is such a great topic. So, I just want to do a little caveat on why I think this is a great topic to discuss, because I see trends, people removing parents out their lives, choosing to no longer continue relationships with their family members because of this very reason. Codependency in their relationship dynamic that led to one person being a giver and another being a taker, or both taking and giving in a way that was not reciprocal and did not lead to independence or healthy balance. So yeah, let's get into it. All right. So in this dynamic, we're going to talk about specifically the parent's role as a savior, where the parent might believe that their sole job is to save their child, attending to all of their needs, even when the child is capable, sacrificing their own well-being. Looking at you, me, old me, in order to ensure that their child has whatever they need, and to overcompensate for the parent's sense of low self-esteem or lack of goals or focus on life. This also can look like pageant moms or dance moms or cheer moms or any kind of overly involved parent that is living vicariously through their child in order to fulfill something that they themselves are not able to achieve. So it can be tricky when you are a stay-at-home parent and you are responsible for taking care of children that have a lot going on, and you may not have as much going on in your own life, or with your personal goals or personal desires. Everything can just be about the kids. And you see sometimes in empty nesters where they literally just fall to pieces because it's just like, I don't have a purpose. I don't know who I am outside of taking care of kids and overly investing myself in every single thing that they have going on, to the point that I have crippled my child and they cannot do things on their own. The child's role in this situation can be over reliance. So the child might become overly reliant on the parent for all emotional and practical needs, struggling with independence and decision making because the parent has always fixed everything or made choices for them. So, if you ever parented like me, then you may have been the parent to kind of get your kids out of any trouble that they're in. Okay, yeah, no, we're not. You're not going to treat my child like that. You're not. You're not. They will not have a consequence for their horrible choice. Um, that can look like going up to the school and being overly protective of your child. Now, that's not saying, you're just letting people do whatever to your children, because that's just not going to happen. But it is looking like you are understanding that your child made a decision and now they have to live with those consequences. And you're going to help them through those consequences, but they're theirs and they have to own them, right? They have to hold them and own that. So blurred boundaries can happen when there's a lack of clear distinction between the parents and the child's feelings, responsibilities, and personal space. So what this can look like is a parent might feel their child's failures are their own. And in the Black community, we say that all the time. You're not going to be out here making me look bad, okay? You are a reflection of me. When you leave this house, you are representing this house. You are to carry yourself in the way that I raised you to carry yourself. There is a thin line between that and you made a mistake and now I somehow have failed, or I somehow am no longer an adequate parent, or I somehow look like whatever, because it really isn't about the parent in this situation. It is about the child using their brain, because they have their own, to make their own decisions, and then again having to live with those consequences. Are they fun to live with? Maybe not. But are they theirs to live with? Yes, absolutely, 100%. And that doesn't mean that as a parent you're not going to have to deal with that, right? Because some decisions that kids make do result in you having to work a little harder, do have to result in you having to adopt a different way of life. Just is what it is. But there is that child is not responsible for your happiness. That child is not responsible for your self-worth. That's not on them. That's not their responsibility. But we're raised to kind of operate in that way. Okay. And that can lead to kids growing up feeling some kind of way about it, and choosing to kind of walk away from their relationship with their parents later on in life because they aren't equipped for life, or they don't have the emotional capacity or the mental wherewithal that they feel they should have at the age that they're at, and have not yet made it to the place where they realize, oh, I can parent myself. I can take care of myself now, and I can give myself whatever my parents just weren't equipped to give me without hating them as well, and just giving them grace and realizing that, hey, you just didn't have it. You didn't have the knowledge, didn't have whatever. Life was different. Times were different. But we'll get to that, because there is a key difference in the kind of parents you can kind of move forward with and the kind of parents that just refuse to change or acknowledge that you are your own individual person that does not have to live your life according to what they have designed for you. Okay. All right. So these are some signs of codependency in the parent-child relationship. And I'm not going to miss any this time. I took notes, so they're there, and I'm not going to miss any points. Okay. All right. So lack of communication. So instead of open, honest communication or dialogue, it is very manipulative and guilt-tripping. And there are a lot of unspoken expectations. Things are not very clear. They're not very clear on what to do and what not to do, what is okay and what is not okay. So I'm going to touch on religion for a moment, because I was raised Seventh day Adventist. And then when I could choose for myself, I became apostolic. Both of those are extremely strict religions that require that you kind of really, really live in holiness, okay? And because I was raised that way, specifically in Seventh day Adventist household where you're not supposed to get tattoos, no piercings, no makeup, and apostolic, you're supposed to live holy, you really aren't supposed. Kojic as well. Let me not miss that. That was a big part of my life. I was Kojic for as long as I was Seventh day Adventist, and then I chose apostolic. So can't forget that. Again, holiness is right? Um, and in those situations, the spaces, everything is layered in guilt and shame. There are a lot of unspoken expectations under the commandments that exist. So there are 10 commandments, but within those, there are a lot of expectations of how you should conduct yourself, how you should carry yourself, what you should wear, how you should act, how you should speak. Um, you get where I'm going. Well, maybe you don't, but there were just a lot of things that were not clear. Um, when you have rules and don't necessarily have a clear understanding of how to achieve perfection outside of reading the Bible and searching and praying, you're bound to make mistakes. You're bound to be unclear. You're bound to be confused and fearful, right? Um, so that can lead to a very damaged relationship. And it led to a very damaged relationship with me and God for a long time, until I got to a space where I really wanted to know God for real, um, outside of anything else and outside of the guilt and the shame. So uh, I also see that reflection in my relationship with my parents, where I really got to know them outside of being my parents. And when I got to know my parents, so many things changed. Um, that's neither here nor there. Let me carry on. All right. So, uh, parents need for approval. So, a parent constantly seeks validation from their child, needing to be seen as the perfect parent or overly concerned with the child's approval of their life choices. Okay, now, listen. This is maybe not something that Black children experience, because, like, look, I don't care how you feel. These are the rules, you're gonna follow them. I don't care how you feel about it. I do see a lot in the culture of parenting now with gentle parenting. Parents are very concerned and consumed with how their how their children feel about their parenting techniques. I have a lot of conversations with my kids about how they feel about my parenting, how they feel about my choices, how they feel about a lot of things. The reason being, I parented in a very dictatorial way, and as I'm adjusting, I need to know what works. Is this working? Is this working for you? Because uh, I don't think it is. Um, but I don't know everything, and every child has feelings, and as they get older, those feelings become bigger, right? Not to say that my kids can make decisions um, about what I'm gonna do in my life, but I think it's very important when it comes to dating that they have a say so, because kids can see things that sometimes other people can miss. Parents can see things that sometimes other people can miss. Best friends can see things that sometimes other people can miss. So I think that there can be some balance there. Um, but going to your kids for approval um, can be very detrimental to your relationship, because then they think that they have a say so in how things are going to go. And the purpose of being a parent is to guide them and show them how things are going to go. All right. So self care is viewed as selfish. Again, this is a key trait that you're going to see throughout this dynamic and also throughout friends. And it is when you choose to do something for yourself. So that could look like um, your mom needs you to go to the store, and you're like, I already booked time to go to the spa, and I need to go for me. Um, when you're older, I'm talking like this is like a teenager. And the parent's like, but I need you to go to the store and that's what you're going to do first, because so what? And I don't care if you had a stressful week. You're just a kid. It don't matter. That can lead to things that, um, you begin to develop a mindset that maybe, your needs aren't important and everybody else should be taken care of first. When you can do both, okay, I already made this appointment. I'll keep this appointment. And then as soon as it's over, I'll go run this errand for you, because I understand that, still a reciprocal relationship at this point. Difficulty saying no. Whew. So this could be the parent struggling to set limits with the child, not enforcing rules, and the child struggles expressing their own opinions or declining their parents' requests. So in the example that I just gave, instead of saying no, I had this appointment, they'll just be like, okay, cancel their appointment, cancel self-care, not do any of the other things. And then the parent also, on the same side, this is where we're seeing giver-giver relationship dynamic. The parent struggles to say, no, I can't do that. That's not going to work for me. So both the parent and the child are not operating in healthy boundaries. They're not operating in a space where they can say no and the other person will hear them and respect what they're saying. And with valid reason, because with kids, sometimes it's like, look, get up and clean the dishes, right? This is not negotiation, right? And that's probably not the best time for the child to be like, you know what? I don't want to. No, I'm not gonna do that. No, get up and do them dishes. So let's not confuse the two, because they're very two different situations. And one is the parent setting healthy boundaries and responsibilities, that this is what we're doing at this point in time, and the child is being respectful of that boundary. Okay. The other thing is fear of abandonment, and this can go both ways. So both people can not say no because they're fearful that the other person will abandon them. Maybe later in life for the child, or maybe at that moment for the parent. So a parent that's getting older could feel like, okay, if I don't say no or I don't say yes, then they're not going to take care of me when I get older, and I'm going to be in this nursing home all alone, and I don't want that for my life. And the child could feel like, okay, if I don't do this right now, then they're not going to meet any of my needs, and I'm going to be by myself, or they're not going to come home, or they're going to not want to be with me. And again, the parent fixing everything, we already discussed what that looks like. The child lacks independence and self-sufficiency. Now listen to me on this one, please. If you don't hear nothing else I say, listen, please. Kids are capable of doing whatever you teach them to do. So if that means doing their own laundry, folding their own clothes, washing dishes, all of those things are preparing them for independence, right? Even if they come from wealth and they're going to have a servant, knowing how to do these things themselves allows them to know how to instruct, know how to be a good boss, know how to be a good leader. It doesn't mean that it's beneath them. Everything you teach your child has a benefit. Teaching them how to be self-sufficient and independent and be able to make their own money in the future means that they're not relying on you, and they can choose whether or not to be in relation with you. And what a lot of people are noticing now is that when their children no longer need them for anything financial, they no longer have children that want anything to do with them. And that is because of this dynamic happening within the relationship for their entire life. Neither the parent nor the child has set healthy boundaries with one another that are built on mutual respect, love, and compassion. It's hard to balance, There's no rule book for being the perfect parent, and there's no such thing as being the perfect parent. Nor is there a rule book on how to be a kid, or what that looks like, or how it should look. There are a lot of theorists, and there are so many different people that have their idea or concept of what perfection looks like, but truth is, we're never going to reach it. And that's not the goal. The goal is figuring out how to make this journey with one another positive, loving, and enjoyable, where we want to be around each other. We want to enjoy one another. We want to have a positive experience with one another and stay in each other's lives. That's the goal. All right. Okay. So, also, again, with, cheer moms, cheer dads, basketball dads, football dads, whatever, where sometimes people can live vicariously through their child, their enmeshment can happen, where the identities begin to merge and they're intertwined so much that it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. Um, it's easy for that to happen, right? When you're raising children and you have a child that is the same sex as you, or a child that is just like you, that may be the opposite sex, and you see yourself in them, right? And you want to make sure that they are a healthy version of you, or they're a healthy version of themselves. And it can seem confusing if you don't consider who they are at their core, which can look like having a child that may identify as a different sexuality than you want them to identify as, and saying, yeah, we don't do that. It really don't have nothing to do with you, right? But it's hard for people to accept that because they can't recognize where they end and their child begins, or where their choice ends and their child begins. And I know people will say, nah, that ain't their choice. But at the end of the day, it is. And yeah, I'm not gonna say that. But all right, we're gonna move right along. Okay, emotional manipulation. Again, religion. Religion really teaches you how to do this really well. Really teaches you how to do this really well when we miss the concepts of what I believe God was really trying to teach us with his son, Jesus, and Buddha was teaching us to reach nirvana, and releasing, enlightenment. In so many different ways, we can realize that by guilting or shaming somebody into change, that it appears that they change, right? When really the truth of that is they learn to get really crafty and very secretive with what's going on. Real change is not happening for real. It just is happening on the surface, so it looks a certain way. And I learned how to master this in religion and look the part. But under the surface, okay, things were not what they appeared. And I was fighting so hard so that they could look like perfection. Just wasn't lining up. Wasn't lining up, because I didn't have the tools that I have now, and I wasn't in the environment at the time that would have allowed me to be vulnerable enough to really, really heal and be honest and transparent. All right. So emotional manipulation, which that was what I was trying to explain, can come from parents like when they get older. And I had a friend, and their mother-in-law was dying for a long time, like years. And she always was dying, was dying, was dying, was dying. I'm dying, I'm dying. I can't do that. We can't do this. You can't do this because I'm dying. That is emotional manipulation at the highest degree. Um, you have to consider me because I'm going to die and I won't be here. Yes, we all are going to die and we all won't be here one day. But that is not a tool you use to control other people. That is emotional manipulation, with your children, for sure. And it can lead to them not wanting anything to do with you. All right, strifled growth. We've already hit on that. And resentment. Both the parent and the child, I told you I took notes, so I'm adjusting that now. Both the parent and the child can feel trapped and resentful, leading to ongoing conflict and emotional distance. Like I said before, we want to have healthy relationships with our kids when they're older, not just now as kids. And we want to make sure that it's healthy and it's balanced. And the power dynamic is one that is set up for their success, right? We have to promote independence with our kids. We have to allow them to break free from what we have designed for them. We have to um, allow them to practice self-care and practice self-care as well. We have to set healthy boundaries and be okay saying no. Providing everything that our kids need is important. Providing everything that they want is not. And it's okay to say, not right now. I'm learning in this stage of my life with my kids that I have given you enough stuff. Everything else I want to give you has to be in your brain, something that you can learn and receive from me in that way. Because me buying the stuff, they play with boxes. Like, y'all are big grown age kids playing with boxes. What did I spend all this money on this PlayStation for if you're going to play with the box it came in? You know, like, look, the money just doesn't matter, right? Making sure that your kids have their needs taken care of does. And the wants are going to change from day to day, from week to week, providing everything that they need right now today. It won't matter in a month. They won't remember. I know my daughter and my sons have a long list of things that they really, really, really want. And they're not going to get it from me anytime soon. And it has nothing to do with finances and everything to do with what for? What for? What is this going to do to enhance your life? These Roblox that you want, they're going to do nothing for you. You had freedom to buy Roblox and you spent $200. $200 on them. So no is my answer, and it will be my answer for a while. $200 is crazy, right? You just get birthday money and you spend it all. Like, who? I digress. That's my stuff, and I'm not gonna pass that on to y'all. But what I will say is, no is okay. You know, asking your kids how they feel is okay too. But letting them live their life and fail and not be there to pick them up from every single mistake they make is okay. It's okay, and it doesn't make you a horrible parent. We've got to give ourselves some grace as parents. We've got to give our kids some grace. We've got to give our parents some grace and be able to move forward in grace. Because every day, I get better and better in every way. Yes. Okay, cool. So thank you so much for taking time to sit down and listen or drive or whatever you're doing. I don't know what you're doing or where you're listening to me at, but I'm grateful that you're doing it. And I'm so grateful that we're addressing this together, because it can be hard and sometimes you just need somebody to hold your hand. So if you would like someone to walk with you along this journey and collaborate with you on goals and plans to maybe correct relationships with your own kids or your parents, go ahead and visit my website, www.supernovabody.com. Schedule a consultation, and I'll be more than happy to walk alongside you and collaborate with you on ways to mend and repair relationships. I also got some sound bowl sessions that you can listen to that will definitely begin the work on your heart to repair and create space for change. Thank you again. Have a great day or night or weekend or whatever, just have a good one.